Building resilient cities to tackle future disruptions while adapting to COVID-19, climate change and aging populations. Well, that's all the theme of the first virtual World City Summit, which kicked off today. For more, we're joined by Dr. Cheong Koon Hian, Chairman of the Centre for Livable Cities. Dr. Cheong, hello. Tell us first, what exactly do you mean by building resilient cities? What kind of attributes are we talking about?
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Firstly, what are resilient cities? Actually, resilience simply means whether a city can deal with adapting to shocks and adversities and whether we can bounce back from it. So that's what we mean when we say we are a resilient city. So if we look at resilient cities, it's important that cities have to plan ahead to be resilient. So if we are looking at urban planning, it needs to be very long-term and forward-looking because you cannot build resilience overnight. You need a lot of long-term planning to think about the types of infrastructure and processes that are needed to be put in place in order to deal with these shocks. So just let me cite quickly two examples. The first example really is in climate change. It is a long-term issue, but it will come and we have to be prepared for it. So planners really need to think about if you were to have coastal protection, we could use reclamation to double up for coastal protection. The other one is water resilience, which I think we're all very familiar with. With water scarcity and with climate change where you have droughts that come on and off, Singapore took decades to actually prepare to minimize the scarcity of water. So we have been planning the whole of Singapore as a sponge, almost putting in a whole comprehensive network of drains to capture all rainwater. And of course, we invested in a lot of infrastructure to reclaim used water and for desalination. So that's what I mean by resilience. It is something that's long-term and that you have to be prepared for.
And you mentioned the importance of urban planning and ran us through some examples. Who should be involved in this process?
Well, Steve, I think many people need to be involved in this process. Of course, infrastructure is something that the government needs to do quite a bit in planning long term. But we can involve, of course, very importantly, the private sector that will have to give ideas and innovations to build such infrastructure. And even along the way, you can involve the community. So, for example, even in water resilience, you can include the community to co-create ideas for water resilience. For example, if you plant in a certain way, you can use that to help clean the water, which can percolate through your rain gardens. So that it's really a 3P partnership: the public, the private sector, and the people sector.
So now that we've set some parameters, what has COVID-19 revealed about Singapore? Is it resilient or not?
Well, I think there are many lessons that we can learn from COVID, but just thinking through, perhaps a couple of lessons we can learn from it, especially from the planning point of view. First is the mindset that beyond just thinking about just in time, which is about efficiency, we have to think about just in case, which is about contingency. So the planning needs to be long-term, putting in place emergency plans that are multi-sectoral. You have to think through the entire process. For example, for the pandemic, we have to think about temporary quarantine housing, and then we have to think about storage, stockpiling, logistics, and having a diversification of supply. So these are many of the things we have to think about. Secondly, it's really about flexibility in planning. Instead of thinking about blueprints, you start to have to think about scenarios, different scenarios, and try to be prepared for it. And of course, our entire lifestyle has changed as a result of pandemic because of work from home or to study from home. So we have to think about how to make our land use a lot more flexible and how do we enable land users to change? For example, if real estate demand for offices reduce, can we change to other uses? And even for assets, your assets need to be really multifunctional, that you can convert very quickly. So I think these are the things we might have to think about from the planning point of view.
Yeah, Dr. Chong, it certainly is very complex as you've laid it out for us. In terms of urban planning, though, where has Singapore done well and where do you feel it could be doing better?
Well, Singapore has always taking a very long-term approach to planning. So we have planned actually very comprehensively. And because of the way we plan in the long term, we know which are the types of infrastructure that we would have to prioritize and invest in. So that we have done very well. And actually, we have been talking a lot about sustainability. Singapore has always tried to plan in a sustainable way, simply because we are a very small city-state, and resources are very precious to us. So thinking about sustainability, quality environment, good air, clean water, sanitation, and particularly looking at affordable housing as a very important aspect to make quality living possible. So these are the areas that Singapore has done very well. Sustainability, to a certain extent resilience, which we have to do more, but really providing a quality living environment.
All right, I want to thank you for joining us there, Dr. Cheong Koon Hean, Chairman of the Centre for Livable Cities, with her insights there.